From Chris Benoit's tragedy that shocked the world.
3 people died in that house that night. Only one person had the choice behind it. The other 2 didn't have a choice to die. So if that's your boy, you.
To Hulk Hogan's racism scandal destroying his legacy.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not. I'm not a racist. I never should have said what I said. It was wrong. I'm embarrassed by it.
In this video, we're diving into 10 WWE legends whose real-life controversies turned them from beloved heroes into the most hated figures in wrestling history. Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit was once considered one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. His precision in the ring, his intensity, and his dedication to the craft earned him respect from peers and admiration from millions of fans worldwide. Benoit's career spanned over 2 decades, taking him through legendary territories like Stampede Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, ECW, WCW, and finally WWE, where he achieved his ultimate dream. At WrestleMania 20 in 2004, Benoit stood in the center of the ring as the World Heavyweight Champion, tears streaming down his face as he embraced his best friend, Eddie Guerrero. It was supposed to be the crowning moment of an incredible career, a testament to hard work, determination, and never giving up on your dreams. But that beautiful moment would be forever overshadowed by unimaginable horror. In June 2007, Chris Benoit murdered his wife Nancy and his 7-year-old son Daniel before taking his own life in their suburban Atlanta home. The tragedy shocked the wrestling world and led WWE to immediately erase Benoit from their history, removing every mention of his name, every match from their archives, treating him as if he had never existed at all. The hatred toward Benoit is visceral and understandable. Wrestling personalities have been unequivocal in their condemnation.
Who's saying my boy? Why? Why? Yeah, you can admire his work all you want, but you know what? You can admire his work all you want, but I'll give you my take on it, since you want to keep on yelling out my boy. 3 people died in that house that night. 3, I don't care about CTE. 3 people died in that house that night. Only one person had the choice behind it. The other 2 didn't have a choice to die. So if that's your boy, you.
Paul Heyman's raw emotion in that moment captured what so many felt, that regardless of what was happening in Benoit's brain, regardless of the chronic traumatic encephalopathy that may have contributed to his actions, 3 people died that night and only one of them had any choice in the matter. Wrestler Jordynne Grace sparked controversy when she tweeted that we should all hate Benoit and disregard his entire body of work, though she later organized a CTE fundraiser after Nancy's sister Sandra Toffaloni expressed that the family felt like an afterthought. Some, like wrestler Conan, have argued that Benoit's brain trauma should be considered, saying he had CTE and it wasn't like he was a serial killer. But for most fans and wrestlers, the severity of what happened makes any redemption impossible. On Reddit and social media, the consensus is clear. Chris Benoit is completely boycotted from all WWE material, and rightfully so. The man who once represented excellence in professional wrestling is now remembered as a monster. His 22-year career and every incredible match forever tainted by one horrific weekend. From a hero turned horror, WWE's next legend proves that even larger-than-life stars can fall from grace in the most public ways. Hulk Hogan. For millions of fans who grew up in the 1980s, Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler, he was a superhero, the personification of American values, the man who taught us to say our prayers and eat our vitamins. Hulkamania ran wild across the globe, making Hogan the biggest star professional wrestling had ever seen. He main evented 8 of the first 9 WrestleManias, won 6 WWF championships, and his legendary body slam of Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 became one of the most iconic moments in sports entertainment history. Hogan transformed wrestling from a regional attraction into a global phenomenon, crossing over into mainstream media with movies, television appearances, and endorsement deals that made him a household name far beyond the wrestling world. But in 2015, everything came crashing down when a racist tape was leaked to the public. The audio revealed Hogan using racial slurs, including multiple instances of the N-word, while discussing his daughter's boyfriend. But it wasn't just the slurs that shocked people. It was the casual, conversational nature of his racism.
I was at the lowest point of my life. My personal life was destroyed. I was very mad at my daughter.
Even in his apology, Hogan struggled to take full responsibility.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not. I'm not a racist. I never should have said what I said. It was wrong. I'm embarrassed by it. But a lot of people need to realize that you inherit things from your environment.
The excuse that he inherited racism from his environment in South Tampa rang hollow to many. Reddit users dissected his racism with devastating clarity. Hulk Hogan wasn't just racist, he was so specifically and uniquely racist. Another commenter noted, "Hogan is so racist, he is afraid of facing racism after being potentially reincarnated as a black person," referring to Hogan's bizarre statement about karma and reincarnation tied to his son's car accident that left a man with permanent brain damage. Black wrestling fans expressed betrayal and pain upon Hogan's death in 2025, their childhood hero revealed to be someone who saw them as lesser. WWE fired Hogan in 2015, but controversially reinstated him in 2018 after he apologized, a decision that many felt was motivated more by profit than principle. Fan polls consistently rank Hogan among the most hated wrestlers, with many refusing to separate the art from the artist, unable to watch his matches without thinking about his hateful words. The Hulk Hogan story is particularly tragic because his racism overshadows not just his accomplishments, but also the backstage politics that plagued his career. Stories of Hogan refusing to lose matches, manipulating bookers to keep himself on top, and holding younger talent back have circulated for decades. But it's the racism that will define his legacy forever, transforming the red and yellow hero of our youth into a cautionary tale about heroes with feet of clay. If Hogan's legacy was tarnished by words, the next one proved that actions and opinions can be just as damning. The Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior was pure, unbridled energy personified. His entrance alone, sprinting to the ring, shaking the ropes with manic intensity, his face paint and neon tassels creating an unforgettable visual, made him an instant sensation. His victory over Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6 to capture both the Intercontinental and WWF championships simultaneously seemed to mark the beginning of a new era. For a brief moment, the Ultimate Warrior was positioned as Hogan's successor, the next big thing in professional wrestling. But behind the paint and the power was a man whose views were as toxic as his wrestling style was limited.
Ultimate wasn't a great worker. He didn't like the business, but he made a lot of money. But he just hated the business. He really did, you know.
He was just in it for the money.
Yeah, he was in it for the money.
Fellow wrestlers describe Warrior as difficult, unreliable, and genuinely strange, with one noting that Sid Vicious thought he was being ribbed because Warrior was so crazy and off the wall. But it was Warrior's bigoted public statements that cemented his status as one of the most hated legends. Vice magazine documented how WWE has been whitewashing Warrior's bigoted past, ignoring his homophobic rants and racist commentary. On his blog, Warrior referred to Heath Ledger mockingly as Leather Hedger and called him a great father for dying, mocking the actor's death. He posted anti-Martin Luther King Jr. Day content and called Hurricane Katrina victims self-ruined. His homophobic remarks at speaking engagements, including at universities, sparked protests and petitions. Reddit users are unequivocal. Ultimate Warrior was a pile of shit, an ignorant, racist, homophobic pile of shit. Yet WWE created the Warrior Award in his honor after his death in 2014, just days after his Hall of Fame induction and final appearance on Monday Night Raw.
So am I. I'm a different guy. We cleared the air. We asked for forgiveness, both of us. We shook hands and walked away feeling pretty damn embarrassed that I even considered not talking to him. That's how big of a change he had made.
His widow Dana claims his heart was changed by conversations with his daughters, but for many, it's too little, too late. The Ultimate Warrior remains a symbol of how WWE prioritizes profit over principle, choosing to honor a bigot with an award that supposedly celebrates humanitarianism. From bigotry to abuse of power, WWE's next figure proves that legends aren't always heroes. The Fabulous Moolah. The Fabulous Moolah held the Women's Championship for 28 years, a record that may never be broken. She was credited with keeping women's wrestling alive during times when it was banned in many states, training generations of female wrestlers, and paving the way for today's women's revolution in WWE. In 2018, WWE announced they would name the first ever Women's Battle Royal at WrestleMania in her honor, seemingly a fitting tribute to a pioneering woman in a male-dominated industry. But then the stories started coming out. Former wrestler Mad Maxine revealed on Dark Side of the Ring that Moolah did send girls out to this guy in Arizona and pimp them out. Other trainees came forward with allegations of financial exploitation, abuse, and being pimped out to promoters. The accusations painted a picture of Moolah as someone who used her monopoly on women's wrestling not to elevate the division, but to control and exploit young women desperate for a chance in the business.
Vince should have said, wait a minute, look. And they should have came out with a press conference and said this, wait a minute, Mars or Snickers and all that. Listen, let's get the facts straight, because here's a woman that worked for us for so many years that I still stand behind her, because she deserves the recognition. So let's see where this came from and who started this mess. I've had a cousin that come up and said, Judy, did you really do that? I said, do what? And they said, about Moolah pimping you out. I said, pimping us out? And like I said, nobody really knows how it hurts you to hear that you work for somebody and they pimped you out so you get where you did.
The emotional testimony from Judy Martin, one of the Glamour girls, shows the pain these allegations caused to women who worked with Moolah.
All you people that signed that petition and brought Moolah into as a pimp, I felt that you really said that she pimped us girls out, which that never happened. The drugs, I've never done drugs. I had been tested way back then, and I guarantee you the only thing that could found in me was a cigarette. And that it hurts. It actually hurts. And I don't know if you guys are really wrestling fans or just have nothing to do but sign. If you did sign a piece of paper, you just signed it. But you really damaged a lot of girls in this business that worked at that time.
While some defended Moolah, social media was unforgiving. Fans called her a pimp, and worse, with comments noting she contributed to many women getting raped. The backlash was so intense that WWE reversed course, renaming the Battle Royal and distancing themselves from the Moolah legacy. Stephanie McMahon addressed the controversy on Twitter, acknowledging the concerns. From abuse of power behind the curtain to tragedy in the spotlight, WWE's next legend shows how fame can hide a lifetime of darkness. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Jimmy Superfly Snuka revolutionized professional wrestling with his high-flying style. His signature Superfly splash, delivered from the top rope or even the top of a steel cage, influenced generations of aerial wrestlers who followed. In 1983, his legendary leap from the top of a cage onto Don Muraco's prone body at Madison Square Garden became one of wrestling's most replayed moments, cementing his status as an innovator and a daredevil who pushed the boundaries of what was possible in the ring. But that same year, something far darker happened. In May 1983, Snuka's girlfriend, Nancy Argentino, was found dead in their hotel room in Whitehall Township, Pennsylvania. The 23-year-old woman had severe head trauma, injuries that the medical examiner said were consistent with being hit by a moving vehicle or beaten with a weapon. Snuka claimed she had fallen and hit her head. The case went cold. The case went cold, with many believing that Vince McMahon Sr. helped cover up what really happened to protect one of his biggest stars. For over 3 decades, Snuka wrestled and was even inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1996, all while Nancy's family sought justice. Then, in 2015, Snuka was finally charged with third-degree murder, but the case would never go to trial. Snuka was deemed incompetent due to dementia and stomach cancer. He died in 2017, never having faced justice for Nancy's death.
I hate to say it, but I had just left him when we were on our way back home, where we live in Florida, and he passed away. But I went to see him every day. He didn't know anybody, but he knew us.
All that, the controversial stuff that happened with him, and that woman.
I think he would have got over it. See, the case has never been solved because he's never been. They ruled him he couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't testify.
Yeah.
The wrestling community was divided.
What do you think of this whole controversy now with Jimmy Snuka that they're trying to bring back?
It's sad. We were just talking about it earlier. I don't know what transpired. I had just come into the territory at that time. Of course, Jimmy that was before Hogan. He was the man. I hope it's not true. I don't know if it's true. But Jimmy's gone through a lot. He fought cancer.
But others were less forgiving. Investigative journalist Irv Muchnick stated bluntly, Jimmy Snuka posthumously was a murderer. It's ridiculous. When WWE aired a tribute video after his death, Jim Ross defended the decision, saying, I had no issues. He meant a lot to a generation, though he later apologized for how his remarks were taken. Social media erupted with condemnation, fans posting, murder, murder, murderer, and questioning how WWE could honor someone with such serious allegations hanging over his head.
Well, they was buddies. They hung out together. And she was in the room when the incident happened, and she said, what did he hit her? He went to get some cocaine. She came back with nothing. He just went through an 8-ball that day, and he came up off that bed and he hit her, broke her neck. And that's what she said. Now, I wasn't there. But and then she ran out the room, and she left her purse. And she started dating me, hoping that she'd get her purse back from him. But I didn't. I mean, dude, I don't know what happened to that purse.
The Snuka case represents one of wrestling's most troubling chapters, a legend whose innovative moves inspired countless wrestlers, whose Hall of Fame career brought joy to millions, but whose alleged violent act against a young woman was swept under the rug for decades to protect the business. Nancy Argentino's family won a civil lawsuit, but for many that's cold comfort when criminal justice was never served. Snuka's alleged crimes shook the ring, but Vince McMahon's scandals shook the entire empire. Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon didn't just participate in professional wrestling, he transformed it. As the chairman and CEO of WWE, McMahon turned a regional territory into a global entertainment empire. He created WrestleMania, purchased competitors like WCW and ECW, and built WWE into a publicly traded company worth billions. As a performer, his Mr. McMahon character, the evil, power-mad boss, became one of the most compelling villains in wrestling history, feuding with Stone Cold Steve Austin in storylines that defined the Attitude Era and propelled WWE to unprecedented heights. But in 2022 and 2023, allegations emerged that mirrored his on-screen character in disturbing ways. Multiple lawsuits accused McMahon of sexual misconduct, trafficking, and emotional abuse. The allegations were graphic and deeply troubling, painting a picture of a man who allegedly used his power to coerce and abuse employees. One former WWE star was quoted as saying, "Vince made so many of us feel small and awful." Another called him a manipulative piece of shit, describing the cult-like dynamics within WWE, where McMahon's word was law.
There are certain people who are superstars, and that's not to say that they don't know it and they can lean into it and create these moments. But there are some people that can't help themselves, right? They're just saying outlandish things all the time. They just have no filter.
The allegations include claims that McMahon would defecate on an employee during a threesome, that he trafficked employees to wrestlers and executives, and that he created an environment where refusing his advances could end careers. A federal investigation was launched, though it was ultimately dropped in 2025, but civil lawsuits continue.
Well, I mean, the culture, though, that's going on, yeah. Like the guys that are coming out and covering this and help to set Vince up, they're still there. They were part of the culture. Like there's still leadership. It's one of these interesting things where all right, you put Brock down and you took the owner of the company. This is what you left. Yeah, it's one or the other though. I mean, are we cleaning house or are we not?
McMahon resigned from WWE in 2024 amid the scandals, ending his decades-long reign over the company. A Netflix documentary further explored the explosive allegations, reshaping public perception of the man who built WWE. The irony is almost too perfect. The character he played on television, the evil boss who abused his power and treated employees like playthings, appears to have been less of a character and more of a confession. McMahon controlled the company, Michaels controlled the wrestlers, and sometimes that control came with a price. Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is widely regarded as Mr. WrestleMania, a performer whose athleticism, charisma, and storytelling ability made him one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time. His ladder match against Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10 revolutionized the stipulation. His Iron Man match against Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12 showcased his endurance and technical skill. His formation of D-Generation X with Triple H helped usher in the Attitude Era. By any measure of in-ring ability, Michaels deserves his place in the pantheon pantheon of wrestling greats. But during the 1990s, Michaels was also one of the most despised men in wrestling, not by fans, but by his fellow wrestlers. As a member of the Clique, a backstage group that included Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Triple H, and Sean Waltman, Michaels wielded enormous political power. The group influenced booking decisions, got their friends pushed, and made life miserable for anyone they didn't like.
So one night that your name always comes up in, of course, is the Screwjob. And you sort of playing the somewhere between peacemaker / kind of hearing Bret out and enforcer. Can you take us through a little bit how you remember that thing playing out for you?
So, at that time, Bret and I, we still are we're pretty close. Bret's radar was up. Like he felt like something might go down.
The most infamous example of Michaels' backstage politics was the Montreal Screwjob in 1997. Bret Hart, who was leaving WWE for WCW, was supposed to retain his championship but didn't want to lose it in Canada to his bitter rival Michaels.
And to this day, I cannot figure out how that punch got through so many people. It was like, I don't know, because there were so many people in there and they weren't like face to face, but and that punch got through. He hit Vince went down, and that was it.
So Bret says it was an uppercut.
Michaels himself has acknowledged the heat he generated. People's dislike for us was palpable, he admitted, noting that the Clique made a conscious decision to add to that heat. Wrestlers described him as a cancer in the dressing room, with one stating flatly, Shawn couldn't stand him. However, Michaels' story has an element of redemption that sets him apart from others on this list. After a career-ending back injury in 1998 and his subsequent return in 2002, Michaels was a changed man. His Christian faith and time away from the business mellowed him considerably. He apologized for his past behavior, mentored younger talent, and conducted himself professionally. Michaels' redemption story contrasts sharply with the next legend, whose heel persona extended far beyond the ring and into real lives. John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL. John Bradshaw Layfield, better known as JBL, had a successful WWE career. As one half of the APA tag team, he was a reliable mid-card act. His transformation into the wealthy, arrogant JBL character in 2004 led to a 280-day WWE championship reign, making him one of the longest reigning champions of the modern era. After retiring, he became a commentator, bringing his heel persona to the announce table, where it served him well for years. But behind the scenes, JBL had a reputation as one of wrestling's most notorious bullies. Stories of his hazing and harassment are legendary in the worst possible way. The Hardy Boys detailed hazing incidents in their book. Edge stood up to JBL's bullying. Perhaps most infamously, JBL's alleged harassment of announcer Mauro Ranallo led to Ranallo's departure from WWE in 2017, sparking widespread criticism of JBL's behavior. Pro Wrestling Stories called JBL's actions a textbook example of workplace WWE bullying, noting that his behavior was tacitly approved by Vince McMahon, creating a culture where bullying was not just tolerated but encouraged. The hypocrisy was stark. WWE ran anti-bullying campaigns like Be a Star while employing and promoting one of wrestling's most prominent bullies. JBL has issued some apologies over the years, and defenders note that much of his bullying was part of the old-school wrestling culture of ribbing and hazing. JBL's bullying may have hurt careers, but Ric Flair's alleged actions off the ring revealed that even icons aren't above serious misconduct. Ric Flair. Ric Flair is arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. His 16-plus world championship reigns, the exact number is disputed, his legendary matches with Ricky Steamboat, his creation of the Four Horsemen, his unmatched charisma and promo ability, Flair's contributions to professional wrestling are immeasurable. His Nature Boy persona, complete with custom robes, the figure 4 leg lock, and his signature woo, defined what it meant to be a larger-than-life wrestling superstar. To be the man, as Flair often said, you had to beat the man, and for decades, Ric Flair was that man. But Flair's personal life and backstage behavior have been marked by serious allegations and controversies. The most damning involves the infamous plane ride from hell in 2002, a WWE charter flight where multiple wrestlers and crew members behaved abhorrently. Flight attendant Heidi Doyle alleged that Flair cornered her and forced her to touch his penis while wearing only a robe. The Dark Side of the Ring documentary brought renewed attention to these allegations decades decades later. Flair has consistently denied the allegations, stating, "I never forced myself on anyone." He has blamed alcohol for his behavior on the flight, though he maintains his innocence regarding the most serious accusations. But for many fans, especially after the detailed testimony in the documentary, the allegations are impossible to ignore. Comments describe what happened was heinous and question how Flair faced no real punishment from WWE. Adding to the controversy are Flair's financial troubles, multiple divorces, and ego clashes throughout his career. A 2013 arrest warrant for unpaid spousal support was later settled. His continued public appearances and wrestling into his 70s have been both celebrated as dedication to the business and criticized as an inability to let go of the spotlight. The Ric Flair story is complicated because his in-ring work is so legendary that many fans struggle to reconcile the nature boy they idolized with the allegations against the real Richard Flair. His recent documentary work and public apologies have done little to satisfy critics who believe he got away with serious misconduct because of his status in the industry. Randy Macho Man Savage. Randy Macho Man Savage was intensity personified. His gravelly voice, his flamboyant outfits, his Macho Man persona, everything about him was larger than life. His matches were meticulously planned. He famously faxed 29 to 30 pages of match planning for big bouts, ensuring every moment was perfect.
Jim was a perfectionist, as was Randy. The thing that I remember most about Randy was getting ready for the Los Angeles pay-per-view. And I remember riding in the limo with Jim to a town one night, and he told me that Randy faxed him 29, 30 pages of a match.
That's what he did with Ricky Steamboat for WrestleMania 3.
Yes, he did. But look at the outcome.
Oh, it was good.
So that just goes to show you the depth.
His WrestleMania 3 match against Ricky Steamboat is considered one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. His partnership with Miss Elizabeth created some of wrestling's most memorable moments. His 2 WWF Championship reigns and subsequent success in WCW solidified his legendary status. But then, mysteriously, Savage was essentially banned from WWE for years. He wasn't inducted into the Hall of Fame until 2015, 4 years after his death in a car accident.
Tell me, when did you and Randy Savage, when did you guys first cross paths?
In the mid '80s, back when kind of the landscape of wrestling was changing, the Rock and Wrestling Connection on MTV, the introduction of Cyndi Lauper, and all of the Hollywood types, and the Macho Man all of a sudden appeared, and he was as outrageous as he was touted to be.
The rumor that circulated for years was that Savage had an inappropriate relationship with Stephanie McMahon when she was underage, which supposedly led to his banishment from WWE. Wrestling personality Dutch Mantell said on a podcast, "It wasn't just a rumor, it was an accepted almost statement of fact." Some pointed to a promo where Savage cryptically told Triple H to give Stephanie a kiss for old time's sake as evidence. However, these rumors have never been confirmed, and many close to Savage have denied them. His brother Lanny Poffo has criticized media for perpetuating the story. The truth is likely more mundane. Savage probably left WWE for a better deal with WCW, and Vince McMahon held a grudge, as he often did with wrestlers who jumped to the competition.
Wrestling back then, the 80s, the early 90s, such a different, I think, time for wrestling than it is today, would you say?
Oh, definitely. I mean, today everything is television. Back then, the WWE would do probably 2,000 house shows a year. Now they do 400, and it's all really wrapped kind of around television or pay-per-views. The stars are just as big today as they were back then. Of course, the Macho Man was one of the top.
I've heard, I wasn't never a wrestling fan, and I know who Randy Macho Man Savage is.
Still, the unsubstantiated rumors damaged Savage's legacy and contributed to his posthumous hatred ranking. His family deserved better, and so did Savage's memory. Unlike others on this list, Savage's inclusion is less about verified terrible behavior and more about how rumors and mysteries can tarnish even the greatest careers. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.